Hi, this is Chipacon, and I am your host on Otherworldly, the Changing Times, Changing Worlds show. And tonight, our guest is Orion Foxwood, who is, well, as he's written it, this is a self-proclaimed eco-spiritual activist, witch, conjure-man, fairy seer. He's got a bunch of books I will put into the chat. And he just gives a really good workshop. And so we asked him to come and speak to us tonight. So that I will put up his website so you can find it again. And oh, he's got so many good books. Tonight he's talking the unguent of the undercountry is the salve to the soul. Okay, he knows what that means. I don't, so I'm going to let him take over.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. And I'm looking at your library behind you and coveting. Look at that.
Oh, you don't have to covet that, because that's just my DVDs. Oh,
what a great room.
The library is the room over there with several thousand volumes.
I'll be right over.
I am looking for a way to distribute it when I die.
Wow. I love witches. I love witches. So I had an interesting thing happen just before coming on tonight, and which I wrote and posted. I don't know if I got it up in time for folks to see who are on here now. This particular workshop has a bigger bang. Actually, it's the ultimate bang in my work, because Brigh, who is my spirit wife in the fairy seership tradition, came through and instructed that this is the philosophical basis for what I call the co-creative call to action. So I would like to read something to you that I mediated literally maybe an hour ago, just before the workshops. I just posted it.
Have you turned off your visual on purpose?
Oh no, my visual went off.
Your camera is, we're seeing a lovely image, but not you.
Yeah. I am not the invisible witch. We're fixing that.
Good. And then you can read what you just mediated.
You know what? I could keep reading while you're doing this, because you don't necessarily need my face to hear this. While he's working on it. Yeah.
Good to have a computer guy in the house.
Because the host, it says the host has stopped it.
I did?
Mm-hmm.
God, how did I do that?
Was it my beard or something not right? Because, oh, let me say that again. I have a powerful message from Brigh regarding this workshop. This workshop really is the banner call for all the work that I do. So I'm so happy that this is being recorded, because it's very important for people to hear. So I'd like to read to you, to begin it, what she had to say, because it ends with a potent charm that came through about the co-creative call to action and about the role of the underworld and the restoration of well-being on earth. It says, hearken and heed these words, all you workers of magic's arcane art. The message in this workshop is relevant, nay, paramount, to addressing the dilemmas we are facing at this time in human and planetary life. The dangers of not responding to the co-creative call to action for the restoration of our world is in my view, and by the direction of she who sits above me, which is Brigh, the rapid escalation of an extinction event that will end or exile us from Earth. Science has warned us that this has already begun with a mass species die-off. It was caused by humanity and its illusion of isolation. It can only be altered or halted by a global response by humanity, and it must be co-creative with the underworld. Contemplate deeply the wisdoms in this charm that just arrived through me. That which we curse, we shall become. The underworld has been disrespected, undervalued, demonized, and alienated for too long, and at the risk of life itself. We, the pagans, the earth religionists, the indigenous people, and the awakened ones to the holiness of earth have come to the call. Now we must become the medicine for the illness of the soul, the charm. How does the finger curse the hand? How does mother become the hell of man? How does the edge curse the center? How does the acolyte curse the mentor? How does the wave alienate the sea? How to defile our place of arrival without entangling our destiny? How could we be so blind as name the heart of earth as the place of ill refute? And this you will find, and this you will answer all. You cannot curse the root and bless the fruits. Magic workers all, step off the battlefield and onto the dancing floor. Whoops, one moment. Closed, there we go. Onto the dancing floor. Okay. Oh, there we go. Let me go with that charm again. How does the finger curse the hand? How does mother become the hell of man? How does the edge curse the center? How does the acolyte curse the mentor? How does wave alienate the sea? How to defile our place of arrival without entangling our destiny? How could we be so blind as name the heart of earth as a place of ill refute? In this you will find answers. You cannot curse the root and bless the fruit. Magic workers all, step off the battlefield onto the dancing floor. Open wide your inner being and let your spirit soar. The answers you are reaching for are reaching back to you. Dip the cup into this well, drink well. Wisdom comes, that's true. The cup is offered, the key awaits. It's up to you to approach the gate. A golden lock and a silver key in exchange for the cup of eternity. Nothing is more blessed than when you see there is no us and them. There is only we. Now, it's a bit of a chilling charm because it's speaking to the core wound in the heart of humanity. And that core wound is really the backdrop to this workshop, really. We are at a time of great possibility, but also great peril. We are at a time when our decisions have a weight of a repercussion way beyond any time we have ever seen in human history. We have gone as far as we can go, reaching out. We will not be able to reach out much further without extending deep. There is a concept in the fairy seership practices, and it's relative to something called the dampers. And I'll tell you the story about how the dampers came. One year I'd come back from PantheaCon, where my workshops often had like 400 or more people in them. And it was wonderful. I loved it. I loved being able to work with these wonderful people. But every year I would come and they were very wounded and deflated from the previous year and all the things going on in the world. And so I would center in and I would ask the deep abiding spirit of earth, what can I do to help heal my people? What can I do to be a servant to the ministry that all of us have been called to, who've been called to the voice of earth? And I would go in and then do this work and it would lift them up. They would be filled and you see there was joy there. But then the next year I come back and they seemed deflated worse than the year prior. So I went to Brigh and I said, Brigh, against this, my spirit wife, my fairy queen. I said, I can't do this. I can't give a Band-Aid anymore because, to quote the late Martin Luther King, half truth is a whole lie. I can't give bandages knowing that the wound runs deeper. What are the wounds in the heart of the human spirit? And what she said was chilling, y'all. She said, my beloved, that's what she calls me a lot. I love that. She says, beloved, I cannot tell you. I have to show you, but you may not survive. Most don't. Well, that was encouraging. That was encouraging. And I thought about it a moment and I said, I'd rather die an honest man than be alive, knowing that anything that I do is at best a Band-Aid on a big gashing wound. Well, through the subsequent years, there was a lot of muscle to what she said when she said, you may not survive, because I almost didn't. And here are the core wounds. And then I'll speak some to where they come from and how they relate to the underworld and what the underworld is. What came was that there's really only one core wound, and it's called the illusion of isolation. And the illusion of isolation shows itself as abandonment pain. But that abandonment pain further shows itself as abandonment, fear, fury, and shame. Stories of things like exile from Eden are, in my view, both a mythical representation and a future prediction. And this will make more sense in a moment, because I will say something about that story. And so here's the four things. The first one is the wound, and then I'll explain it. And then the other three evolve out of the wound. And I think they're going to really make sense to you as people who are people of the earth. And the core wounds, or what we call the dampers on the blue flame of the soul. And there are four of them. And the first one is the actual big one. The illusion of isolation, that's number one. The desire to possess, that's number two. The resentment of change, that's number three. And then the desire to, what is the illusion of isolation, desire to possess, resentment of change, and desire to be right, basically. The desire for absolutes. Now, these will start to make more sense as I explain. The illusion of isolation, well, we see it as pagan people all the time when people talk about, well, I needed a vacation and to get back to nature. I swear, where the hell do you think you went? There's an illusion right there that you can go somewhere away from nature. Of course, I know what they meant, to renature themselves, to re-ensource themselves, to go back to the original uncontaminated expression of life, to push the reset button, which is what the holism of nature does. So the illusion of isolation, which that is the single most deadly thing on this planet right now. Because in the illusion of isolation comes three expressions of it, because it's all related to abandonment, right? Feeling disconnected from the holism. And the whole thing is a side effect of rapid evolution, and that's all it is. It shows itself abandonment, fear, meaning, oh my God, I've done something wrong. I know I've done something wrong. I don't know what the thing is I've done wrong. And I don't think I'm safe. And I don't think I'll have enough. And, all these things that have us feel, and also ever seeking home, ever seeking someone to complete us, because we're not connected. We don't feel connected into the holism out of which we come. And we're feeling a sense of, surely there's something inherently wrong with me. So that's the fear and the shame that can come with it. And then there's the fury. Well, if I've been exiled from wholeness, like the exile from Eden or something, or if the wholeness is, if it's even real, has exiled me, well, screw it. I'll give it the middle finger. I will dominate the earth. I will make it give me what I want. And we all see that all around us. So it shows itself and vacillates in all three of those. What really is happening, y'all, is that the oldest part of us remembers the connectedness with the all that is, with the holism of earth. The oldest part of us knows that only a small part of us is expressively human, and the rest of us is not. It's mineral, it's bacterial, it's microbial, it's actually just a list of things, but it's not for the human function at all. And so we know that there's something inherently broken in how we're living, but it's like for most people who haven't had the aha yet, they're running around feeling like something is really wrong. And I don't know if something's out to get me. If I've done something wrong, it just feels like something's wrong. Well, their intuition's right on, but the guidance is off. For the folks on here, I say this with absolute reverence and incredible amount of gratitude. The folks on here and folks like us had the courage to hear what was unreasonable. I want you to think about what it means to be just a pagan. A pagan, it's not like you got approved by society and got a pay increase, right? There wasn't a social benefit per se of becoming pagan. And then you add to that, we are busy unearthing old gods silenced under the rubble of indigenous genocide. And the Inquisition was the single largest attempt at indigenous genocide in the history of the world. Nothing can match it. Add up the numbers. And here we were responding to a call that made no sense, and we just followed it. We stepped onto the cloud of unknowing. It's because back in probably about the early 1800s, the tree of humanity started to shake because we were moving into this industrial world, and we were starting to do things the likes of which we had never done. And so the deepest ancestors, and remember this, y'all, all of us are children of the first people. Where else do we come from? Whether that lineage goes back to, as we say in the Lakota tradition, because I'm part Lakota, the Ichewichasha, the people of the earth, the Pagani, the ones who were still living in the living presence of Earth as mother, is inside of every single one of us, and it is at the base of who we are. And those deep, profound places in the human consciousness in the great river of blood was beginning to shake the tree because he could see where things were going. And thus we see the emergence of the Theosophical movement, the Golden Dawn, later Wicca. I could keep going on and on, a summoning back to all things of spiritual and all things of the old ways, the fairy people, you name it. And it has carried a velocity. And this is where I absolutely have to acknowledge people like, movements like Wicca and people like Crowley and others like them. They were real trailblazers, opening a gate behind which they had no idea was there. All they knew is they were summoned, and they must. And we are all a part of that larger sort of heritage. So here we are. And we have to look at the wound that is there and how we heal this, because we got to do it and do it fast. So to finish on those dampers, and then I'm going to come back to how the wound happened and how the fairy people in the underworld, how that relates. So the first one was the illusion of isolation, which is an illusion that we are disconnected from the holism of life somehow. And nothing could be more indicative of that than when we say such things as returning back to nature. You know, when we even live out a philosophy that the divinity is somewhere off in heaven and I am here down here on earth, we are disconnecting spirit from matter, and nothing could be more true, or more false rather. We then have created what I think of as an internal battlefield. And this, to become a healing presence in the world, we got to get off the battlefield and onto the dancing floor. You know, so out of the illusion of isolation then comes the desire to possess. So if I am not a part of the holism, if I'm not a part of some greater vision, if I'm not a thread in some greater fabric that I can somehow lean on for guidance, for help, for support, then I must take that control. I must take and do everything I can do to make life predictable, to make life make me feel safe. So now that's the desire to possess, to have and to hold. And the thing is, life has a thing it does. Life is not a point, it's a stream. In fact, I'm writing a song. This is as far as the song's gone, so I got to get working on it further. And it's just simply, we are not points, we are streams, and nothing is nothing is as solid as it seems. It's not real, it's all a dream. And then it goes on. But we are not points, we are streams. We are emergent beings. We are still arriving until we burn this body out, and it departicleizes, and then we move around into some other form. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just moves around and migrates, you know. Imagine where all you've been to get to the point where you are now, and where you're asking the three holy questions. Who am I? What is it? What's my role in it? And so the illusion of isolation, when it sets in, then the being starts to morph, right? Now, there's a wonderful book by William Gray, one of the foremost Kabbalists of the century. And I highly recommend this book. It's called The Tree of Evil. It's a must read for magic workers, because what Gray did is he looked through the eyes of the Kabbalah. And one specific quote that William Gray said that just to this day, it encapsulated it. And that is, the beginning of the genesis, let me get this right. The genesis of evil is when a thing sees itself as separate. I want you to sit, and I know some of you felt that little chill or that little, the genesis of evil is when a thing sees itself as separate. Banishment and exile heals nothing, whether it's self-imposed or however it's imposed. It heals nothing. In fact, cancer is the story of the illusion of isolation making its way into the body of humanity. Too many of our people are suffering from it. COVID, for instance. COVID's interesting. COVID and Black Lives Matter both have the same message. Black Lives Matter is we are all children of one mother, sister and brother, human and other. It's calling us back to heal each other. And to not just move past the wounds of the past, but to witness each other's pain, to keep each other safe and heal and have that love with reckless abandon, to refuse to leave that. And then COVID, I want you to think about this. How do you not get COVID, right? You protect the breath. The breath is the one thing that we all share in common. It is the well that we all dip into. Did you ever think about this? That when you're breathing, your mouth is on the lips of eternity. Your mouth is on the lips of the vastness of space right now. Beyond our environment, then is outer space, but it's all space. Breathing is how you are relating to space, and space is related to how we make space within. In fact, there's something we do in the House of Brigh where we say, with every breath I take and release, I cast a spell of love and peace. Because, and the breath shows up in every tradition as something more than we think it is. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God, which really means in the beginning was the Word, was the breath of being, and the breath of being became God. God was born out of the breath of being, and now God's got the breath of being inside of it, and then inside of everything that God makes. The breath of being. So here we are. How do we really protect ourselves other than, the vaccine? But the core thing was we were quarantined to protect our breath, the breath of our loved ones, and we wore masks to protect the breath of those we don't even know. Think about that. I love it. Every time I put on my mask, and I've been vaccinated, I still wear my mask because I don't want to carry it to someone else. I don't want to be an asymptomatic carrier. So I will look down at my mask before I put it on. And I realize, I'll bring myself into realization, this is a holy act to protect the breath of being. This is likened to a type of grail. It has summoned us into the place of connection. Clever, clever way. Wherever it came from almost doesn't matter. It's how it got, why it has been summoned by humanity's, sort of the spirit of humanity. And it is, we've got to care for each other. In the underworld is really the foundational world. And when we pass in the spirit, when we die, we go into the undercurrent of life. Nothing goes away. We curl into the great stream and become a part of the stream until once again we arrive in form again. And then we dip up and out of it. We become boats of flesh on a river of blood, and then we dip back down into it. All of us contributing to it, all of us a part of it. And we can no longer ignore the fact that we are emergent beings. We arrive from the invisible to the visible. And if you look at a microscopic look at your whole body, you see you're more space than you are particle. Did you know when you're sitting on your chair right now, that's an illusion. You're not sitting on the chair, you're hovering above it. Your energy field and its energy field are opposing each other. And there's a field there that's so you're posing each other, and that's where the density is. Is that cool or what? So the illusion of isolation and this concept of disconnection, right? It's a killer. It never is, it's never good, because the context for the thing that's alive is gone. You know, the finger doesn't live very far away from the hand. The wave does not exist very long from the ocean. Now, I was watching a film of tsunamis. Oh my God, what a pretty cat. And on this, I watched how the tsunami moved and then what it did. Very terrifying. But it was powerful illustration of, first, the ocean emits the wave, right? And then the wave takes the ocean with it. All of us were emitted from a vast ocean of being. And now we're taking it with us. And we will recede into it and then rise again and take it with us. So the illusion of isolation is to believe that that's not happening and that you're not emergent. I always say you weren't born. You started your borning, and you're still borning. You're still arriving. You're going to keep arriving until you're done, till that poor body's all worn out, and then you'll disassemble and become something else, you know? So the illusion of isolation is something we have to work hard to maintain. Now, what's happening with our diagnostic manuals for mental illness, DSM? When I started in the field, the clinical field, we had a DSM-1, and now I think we're at a 7 or more, 7 something. And the reason I find that alarming is we're becoming, in our complexity, we're creating more and more and more paradox, more and more entanglements and entrenchments. We're becoming so complex, it's creating maladies. And I think that if we can heal this illusion, that's going to heal a lot of the rest of it. So to finish the thought on those dampers, illusion of isolation, desire to possess, which is about control. And then when we can't control things, we get either despondent or angry. And that's the illusion of isolation, desire to possess, then resentment of change. And this is where such things as fundamentalism starts to come in. All fundamentalism in all of its forms is a terror of not being able to please the source, or a terror of not being right. That if I'm wrong, that's it. It's all over. So they can't afford to control, control, control. It's fed by terror. So how did this come about, and how does this fit in to the work that this workshop's about? Everything. Everything. If we take away the outer expressions of our practices, all of us who've been summoned by this voice of earth, the voice of that which is making and made us, then what we're all really responding to is one thing, and that is the earth and us are in peril. Now, the earth knows how to adjust itself. It's done it many times. We're in peril. And we have put the lives of a lot of other things in peril. And we've reached the capstone of it. So now we can't ignore it. And humans are pretty cool when we work together. And they're throwing, the Earth Mother's throwing clue bricks at us that we cannot ignore. So how do we get here? Well, when I first came to the craft and paganism, I was at a list of angers. First of all, as a white guy, right, which is part native, I was angry at white folk, really angry at white folk. Because I grew up around a woman who I loved with all my heart, a holy woman we all knew as Miss Granny. And I only knew her up until maybe 6 years old or so. I was young when she died. And the talk in the family was she was 111. She was the midwife to my mama. My mama was born on a plantation. My mother was born in a slave's quarters on a place called Hollingsworth Place in Cedar Creek Grade in Virginia. They were sharecroppers. They were not poor. We couldn't afford the other OR. And the woman who birthed my mom was a beautiful Black woman who was a little girl during the emancipation. You're hearing this right. She was a little girl. Mom was born in I got to get right here. 1934. The reason I love it, January 2nd, 1934. 1, 2, 3, 4. How cool is that? And so you think, wow, the Civil War was a long time ago. It was only 60 years prior to my mother's birth. So the woman that birthed my mom in the slaves' quarters at this place called Hollingsworth Place was a freed slave. And I grew up hearing the stories. I got to hear stories directly from her. And she was the holiest woman in our world. My mother considered her to be, I mean, we had to be cleaned up, tip-top shape. We had to be like spotless when she came, not because she required it. My mom required it because she was a holy woman. So I saw some things, and I saw some ugly things, and these things shaped kind of who I am and how I am. But for a long time, I didn't like white folk. In fact, my mama caught me one time. She came into the bathroom. She had left me in there just for a few minutes because there was the bathroom, and then the stove was right outside the bathroom. It's an old house built in the 1800s. And so she came in, and somehow I had gotten a hold of one of those old Brillo pads. And I was only, I think I was like 2. I was a little, or maybe younger. I know I was little. And I could barely remember getting that Brillo pad. And I was scrubbing my skin with it. And mom comes in, she's like, oh my God, baby, give me that. She goes, what were you doing? I said, I'm scrubbing the white off. It hurts people. I'm scrubbing the white off. It hurts people. That's a heck of a thing for a little boy to say. I had a lot of those things that I said when I was a little kid. I was different, real different, because I was born with the veil. My mama was, my sister was too. So I was always getting visions as a little boy and still get them now. So where was I going? I was going somewhere with all that. So all of these things shaped me. I was angry, and I just knew that the white folks did all this bad stuff. So then as time went by, I saw how men were treating women. And then I didn't like guys, which is really hard when you're a gay guy. So I was mad at men. So I'm using this as an example where probably a lot of us have been, where we're going, who did this? Who made these problems? Who caused this, right? And so I was looking on this search, and then somewhere along the way, a clue brick hit me. And her name was Brigh, my spirit wife. And she said, no, what you're looking for is to be right. What you're looking for is somewhere to place blame so that you can feel righteous and you're angry. I was like, whoa, she was hushing my gig. She was kind of slapping me to the truth curve. And so I went on my own journey to find out what the truth was. And here's what I found, where the illusion of isolation came from. First of all, if you want to know what the devil is, there is no being called the devil, but there is a state of being that we have created, and it is evolved out of the illusion of isolation. That thing is the birther of all evil. Because when we live in that, we're not considerate of anything around us. We can't see down the road the effect of what we do here. Or as one of my Lakota medicine people friends said once, he said, yeah, makes no sense. You pee at this part of the river, you go down to the other part of the river and take a drink of the water and go, I wonder why it's so bitter. So great wisdom there. And so where did this thing come from? And I looked and looked until I started having the visions. And I also started looking at the evolution of humanity and the evolution of our neurophysiology, because I used to teach neurophysiology. I taught pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamic classes to all the substance and abuse, the behavioral health professionals and EMT professionals in the Washington, Baltimore region. That was in my spare time, right? So I have a fascination with especially the peripheral and central nervous systems, the peripheral especially. So anyhow, what happened? All that happened was rapid neurodevelopment. You see, overspecialization is the hallmark of species extinction. We don't get much more specialized than us. Look at our world, it's humanocentric. It doesn't, the things we build doesn't have a sense of connection to everything else. That's changing, and a lot of pagan people and earth-centered people are really focused on that change, because we feel the disruption, we feel the dis-ease of that. So I'm going to speak to this in reference to the Eden vision, the Eden concept. So in my personal view, the serpent coming down the tree is lightning. Is lightning coming down the axis mundi, or the center of the universe, to our world. Now, I want you to imagine this. Here we are, little hominids, right? Little monkey-like critters with a lot of potential sitting inside of us. And we see this thing come down from the heavens, and it's bright. So on one end, it's pretty, but it makes big boom. So I'm sure we were scared. But it caused something to happen. There was this thing we know as fire. But for us, we must have thought, oh my, the stars have come down to the earth, right? Because we look up and the stars are bright and the sun is bright and this thing is bright and hot. And for some reason, we had to have it. We're watching our fellow hominids running up, and they're getting burnt and they're screaming and they're running away. And some of them may have died and got roasted, and well, we ate them, you know, waste not, want not. And so, but what was inside those little guys that said, I've got to have that? And I got to risk everything. And then you got to ask yourself, what was coaxing us? What was whispering in our ears? Take that, and you will know what God knows. Take that, and you will ignite. And we took it. And ever since fire came into our life, we evolved so quick, we're not even like the same species anymore. Because you have to understand what it did. The fire are stars on Earth. It's plasma. The most prevalent state throughout the universe in terms of the stars. And the stars are ultimately what ignites the motion of life. It's not the beginnings, because it begins with water, and water is older than the stars. Did you know, by the way, this is a new finding. I just love this. I already knew that all the iron in the universe, all of it, comes from stars that have burned out, right? So that means right now, the iron that's in your blood is from stars that died out billions of years ago. So do they die? Not so really. They become something else. So to that, I wrote up this little ditty, and it's, we are stars with human feet, encountering starlight in all we meet. Know this, grow this, and ignite. The stars will guide you through the darkest night. So I've been living with that incredible piece of wisdom that I just love so much. But then I find out a new piece of findings that the astrophysicists have shared with us. Did you know 50% of the water on Earth is older than this solar system? You're hearing right. 50% of the water on Earth is older than the solar system. So that means right now, you've got the iron skeleton of ancient stars in you, and you've got the wave of waters older than time as we know it. Think about it. The well of memory is really inside of us. What does that water know? What does that iron know? So the next time you're looking up at the stars, if you're like me, I love looking up at the stars. And I've always, since I was a little boy, found myself seeing certain ones flickering and maybe going, I wonder if I'm from there. Is that same star, maybe that star might have gone out a long time ago and the light's still arriving. Is that same star sitting somewhere in the distance going, while you're going, did I come from there? Is it looking at you going, did I become them? So awakening to things like that in some ways is our salvation. So what would cause us to awaken to our stellar potential but the stars themselves? When we took the flame, it did a number of things. We could now we can now stay warm, and we can migrate from the cold, warm climates, excuse me, the warm to the cold climates and survive, which meant new perspectives, new things. Our world just expanded. We could travel through the night. We had the sword that parts the darkness. We could now see beyond the darkness and fend off the animals that would otherwise kill us. Then, so we can migrate, we smelt metal. Boy, when that happened, that's magic. That's changing one whole form to a whole nother form. And then this other thing, we could cook our meats. And when we cooked our meats, we dispelled the demons that was causing our people to die sometimes way earlier, parasites. But more, when we cooked that meat, it freed proteins that otherwise were not accessible to us and gave that simian brain everything it needed to grow, and grow it did. And here we are. So what has occurred in the illusion of isolation and the disconnection from the undercountry is simply a side effect of a rapidly growing nervous system. We have to return back to the fire. Isn't it interesting? The fire and drumming circles have taken on such an importance in the human consciousness. Some of the earliest things in man's development to bring us together as a tribe, to bring us together for revelations, to bring us together for joy. A simple thing, a fire, the sun, people dancing around it, planets around that sun, a flame that leaps forward in the heat that goes down, an axis mundi. And there we are with the weaving, the weft of destiny, an awakening. And you watch at these circles, there's something that happens. The gods of flesh awaken. So the undercountry, let's talk about that and what it is. The undercountry is another word for Anun, which is actually Anufin, and the underbelly of Earth. And I love that concept, the undercountry. Now, there are some new anthropological findings about such words as Anufin. I was in Wales, it's been, I think, 3 or 4 years now ago. They had brought myself and Michael Dunning, which many of you know, to come there and to teach at this workshop, or teach at this event called Shamanic Lands. And the focus of the event, it was an incredible event. I fell in love with Wales and Welsh people, oh my God. The focus of this event was Anufin, the underworld. It turns out that now the conclusive archaeological and anthropological findings about what they meant when they said underworld. The underworld is not simply the gestational reality of our planet. It's the gestational reality of the universe, which is why the deeper we go, the higher we go. The image of the tree whose limbs reach down and touch the roots, and whose roots rise up and touch the limbs. Now, why is this important? The undercountry is the place of our arrival. So here, to give you an example, we are on this incredible stone called Earth, and it's going around the sun, as all the planets in the solar system are, and together we are traveling through eternity. We're not sitting still, by no means. And as we are traveling, the light is also traveling into us. The light of stars is flowing into this planet. Luckily, we do have a nice sheath around us, an atmosphere produced by our wonderful ocean and the magnetic field and the ozone of the trees. In fairy tradition, that this is old lore, which I'm about to give you, and that is, the lore is, it's oral tradition. There are 3 oceans in the world that create life. The ocean of blue, which is the water. The ocean of green, which is the green world. And the ocean of brown or black, which is the soil. And the soil is the digested wisdom of everything that has ever lived. And isn't it interesting, the interaction between those 3 is crucial for life. They knew things. So Now let's go. So the undercountry is the gestational reality of the expressed reality that we think of as physical form. Physical form is a surface structure. It's an appearance of things. It's a outflow, right? And it's a transitional state. Because as we're passing through the stars are passing through us. There is a stream of light that is ever becoming you. There's a stream of light that literally has come into our world, right? Comes into our world, into the star in the stone, the nearest star to us, the star that's burning at the center of our world. Comes into that and then once again resurrects through the memory of the land. And remember, the land is more than a bunch of brown decomposed stuff and some broken down rocks and stuff. The ground is the largest memory bank of life. It is the digested wisdom of everything that has ever lived. And we follow the light of the eternal expression of primal light and movement, falls into the sacred land of the earth. And then it's resurrected once again through the ancestral memory, through the land itself, and it composes itself. Genetics, a recipe for how to take those minerals and cellular memory and build each one of us. So in the illusion of isolation, we have put a separation between the ever arriving stellar pulse and then the resurrecting gestational reality. The divine, what we might even think of as the divine current, and then the ancestral current that rises. Because you see, we can only stay in body by eating the ancestors. I know, yum, yum, right? In other words, we have to eat the world to stay in the world. And did you know that the word vitamin, fascinating word, vitaminos, or vita, to be pronouncing Latin correctly, V's in proper Latin, or wa, or pronouncing a W. Catholic Latin is not proper Latin. I'm sorry, my fellow Catholics, or I'm not Catholic, but my Catholic friends. So it's vita, it would be vitaminos. Vitaminos means little life. Little life, little pieces of life. So we have to eat the underworld, the digested wisdom of the underworld, in order to remember how to stay in form. And if we don't, we begin to dissolve, disintegrate, we begin to fall apart. So the uprising ancestral guidance of how to stay composed is in the food, it's in the water. And we continue this until the stream that's ever pouring into us has burnt those structures out. And once it has, then we just decompose and recompose. That's all. We move into some other structure that better fits the pulse of our true existence. The undercountry is when we understand what it is and why it is the state of emergence. It is the state that we go into and then re-arrive out of, right? To say that hell is in the land is to place hell at the center of man. It's madness, absolute madness, because we arrived here from the center of the land. We arrived here composed of the land. That's why I say we are children of one mother, sister and brother, human and other. Now, what are the fair folk? Now, this gets kind of interesting. So when I was a little boy, there was this elder who would come down from the Blue Ridge, because I lived in the Shenandoah, or as we say, the Shenandoah. Shenandoah, and he would come by because he was on his way to the farmer's market where we would sell hay or, horses or, the different things he raised. And he was a healer and a seer. And he would come to speak to me, he and my mom. And because he had seen in me the ability to be a charmer, And its charms are these recited words, often in rhyme, but not necessary. It doesn't have to be. And I know about 500 of them. That's our last estimate. And so he picked up somehow that I had the propensity for these, and he would come by and he would share things. In fact, one moment, let me take a sip of water. He came that particular day to share this. And it was how to make it rain. And I'm going to do this quick because we don't have a lot of time. Ooh, we don't have a lot of time. And it was this. You went to a knocking rock, which was a rock half in the earth, half out of the earth, and you had a pail of water and just a simple rag. And what you're doing, you're dipping your rag into the water, and then you're slapping the stone with it and then whirling, basically. And it goes, as you're doing this, dipping, I abjure the blood and all its stains to blacken the skies in witchcraft's name, to raise the wind and bell the dame and bring the rain and bring the rain. And so it's a powerful thing, but saying is I abjure the blood, back off blood, because there's talking about the blood of Jesus, and Jesus is a solar cult. Well, of course, if the sun's out, we're not going to get the rain. So it's saying, Jesus, get in your lane, dude. We need you to chill a minute, man. We like you. We like the sun and all that. Yeah, but we need the rain. And so abjure the blood, lean back, abjure the blood and all its stains to blacken the skies and witchcraft, and roll back and let the chthonic powers of the old ones bring the rain. So abjure the blood and all the stains to blacken the skies in witchcraft's name, to raise the wind, bring the storms, and bell the dame to beautify the earth, because the rain, when it comes down, she blossoms. Isn't that beautiful? But he brought something else, and this is very powerful. And I didn't know that this man was steering me towards both witchcraft and fairy tradition with that one story. So they know me as Mike back there. And he says, and I'll do it like he did it. And he said, Mike, you got to make right with them folk. That's what they call the fair folk. They didn't use the F word. The British people do that. And so, and these were mostly Irish, Scottish, a little bit of German descent. And so, and they came here fleeing the tyranny of the crown. So they were not exactly terribly complimentary of the British. So they didn't use the F word. Plus, they felt that if you use that word, it was disrespectful. And they didn't use that word. They had colloquialisms like the good people, the people of peace, the cousins. Cousins was the one I heard. She says, "Gotta make right with them folk." Them folk is one of the other things. Now wait, this is chilling. It goes, them folk can snatch your prayers before they reach the ears of God. Let me say that again. You got to make right with them folk. So if already he's saying there's a wrong that has happened, you got to make right with them folk. They can snatch your prayers before they reach the ears of God. And then he says, they're the original ancestors. We're the visitors. And we can't break the laws of nature and go to God to fix it. He don't know how. He gave the world to them. I don't know if you're getting the chill bumps. When I now as a kid, I didn't get chill bumps because I was a kid. I'm just listening to it going, okay. Right? And the truth is, he had a can of these cookies that were ginger snap cookies. And I'd say, yeah, to anything he said to get at those cookies. But my mom wrote it all down, right? And then later, I got to know what all that meant. Them folk and the undercountry, and all this undercountry is the underbelly, under the surface reality, the invisible reality of life itself. Everything that's visible comes from the invisible. And always remember this, the power is in the little people. COVID's showing us that. It's invisible to our eye. It's one of the little people, and it has stopped the entire globe. It is so the power and cells and microbes and all these are the little people. So the power is in the little people, right? So we got to make right with them, folks. We've got to come back into a sacred relationship with the elders to all earth life. Now, here's what that means ultimately. If you look in every sacred tradition worldwide, you'll notice a pattern. Things that are most often seen as holy are illuminative. We've got gods who show up in chariots of fire. We've got burning bushes. We've got saints with halos. We have, glowing beings. We have the jinn made of smokeless flame, the fair folk made of liquid flame and mist that glows. The reason is it's all plasma. These are plasmatic beings. And plasmatic beings, what they do for us is they reignite our plasmatic memory, right? So here we are. We evolved very quickly into an illusion of isolation related to plasma, fire. And what these beings are, and the fair folk as an example of them, is beings to help us understand the flame and to basically begin to recontextualize our rapid development, to reintegrate us, restore us. I always say that fairy seership is restorative, integrative, and co-creative. And so here we are now going, what do we do to fix this? And I think it's a couple of things. We got to get out of the blame game. When you watch the news and you see what's going on in Afghanistan, which is terrifying, just terrifying. When you see what's going on with COVID, and right now COVID is on my tongue a lot because my brother-in-law from my former relationship died of COVID, of the Delta stream. He was in his early 40s. I loved him so much. I mean, I loved him. He was a little brother, and it took him in less than 2 weeks. So please, everybody, take good care of yourself. Please, please, please. And if you think that this isn't real, wake the heck up. It's quite real. And take care of each other, please. Take care of yourselves. So the cost for not waking up. See, what's really hurting us is that we need to now stop reaching out and reach deep. Got to move from thinking and doing to feeling and being. What sits in the underworld, why I call it the salve of the soul, is that when you go into the underworld, and to quote R.J. Stewart, who was one of my mentors and a dear, dear friend, I would have never published if it wasn't for him and Dolores Ashcroft Norwicki, two people who I adore so much. He said, as we go into the undercountry, we pass through the voice of many, the voice of few, and then to the voice of one. We all find this when we try to meditate. We go to meditate, and why am I thinking about the blender? Why am I, just all these things that it's really mental flatulence. That's all it is. It's just bloop, 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 right? That's the voice of many. And then when we are able to still ourselves, follow our breath, for instance, which is a good way. Then the breath, by the way, whatever being came up with the idea of the breath, of breathing, that is always going to be where your salvation sits. Follow your breath. In fact, I'm going to show you something that wasn't on the list real quick. It's called the pause point. Works so quick. Just be aware of your breathing. Don't think about it. Like, don't go, let me breathe stiller, none of that. Just simply be aware of its movement. Gently notice it. How it moves in and out of you in a rhythm. In that place where breathing happens, in the impulse to breathe, there is something sacred and profound. Right now, the lips of eternity, the lips of the essence that flows between all the heavenly bodies, and out of which the heavenly bodies, including yours, comes, is right on your lips, and it's flowing into you and out of you. So now be aware of its rhythm, and now take your hand, one of your hands or both, and simply follow it, like follow its rhythm. Let your hand gently follow its rhythm. And then let your eyes simply notice the movement of your hand and rest itself upon it, like notice and follow it and enjoy the rhythm. much like you do when you're daydreaming, where you're not really looking at it, you're just resting your sight on it and feel the spaciousness arrive. Now, what you can do, if you like, with it is continue the feeling with both hands and then extend the feeling throughout your room, out through your entire house. And feel the peace that is your origins. I call this the pause point. And it's a very potent way of working. Anytime before you go to write, sleep, anything, to restore yourself, because see, we get hyperextended. The thing about that nervous system is it is very fiery and it's in ceaseless motion, ceaseless motion. And sometimes we have to be able to move from the head to the heart to the gut, the three cauldrons, you know, and we all know the three cauldrons are there. We know that we think from those places. I can prove to you that you've known that all along. How many times have you pointed to your head and said, I knew that, I knew it, or point to your heart and said, I knew it in my heart, I knew it, or point to your gut and said, I had a gut feeling, I knew it, I just knew it in my gut. See, we know wisdoms that we don't even know we know, right? And now we have lots of neurophysiological evidence of this, of the neurobundles that are in the gut, in the heart, and in, of course, then in the head itself, in the brain. What we're in the middle of right now is the cost of letting the brain go amok is too high. See, the brain is not the mind. It is a wonderful thing, but it is a laptop. Reality neither begins or ends there. It's a storage place. It's a drag closet. It's a lot of wonderful things. And right now, our left, I think, let me get this right. The left brain is causing problems only the right brain can fix. And it's doing it intentionally because it's weary and it's bored and it wants its wife back. The corpus callosum is trying to awaken so we can have full hemisync. And when we have that, we have ancestral wisdom from the past. In fact, we do a practice in conjure called crowning. I've shared this with you and I hope you use it, where you take a sacred oil of some type. See, oil in the ancient world was liquid fire. So it's liquid, and fire is of course considered to be the light of the stars, and the light of the stars is the expression of the divine. So, and it can be simply olive oil. Take a little bit of the oil, warm it up in your fingers, breathe on it, let the numen of your breath come into it, and just say, awaken unto life. Remember your power. For instance, this is olive oil. I'd say, awaken unto life. Remember your power, O sacred plant, O sacred tree, olive oil, to cleanse, to make holy all that you touch. And then I'd take this and I'd hold it up to the source from whence we all come, the stellar stream. Awaken unto life, O inflowing tide, O inflowing stream of the river of stars. And I would ask it to work through my sacred ancestors, and then they to work through this. And then take that oil, anoint the back of your head. And the way I talk about it, I say, old brain, new brain, which is the frontal cortex. Daddy brain, mommy brain. That's just a silly way I do it, but it's kind of fun. So what you're doing, take the oil, because the oil's a connective liquid fire. You've beseeched the stream you rode here on in terms of the stream of stars, the stellar pulse, and you beseech your ancestors, the ancestral stream, specifically the exalted, redeemed, and holy ancestors. Not all of them, some of them are batty as bed bugs, and they're still healing themselves. As for them, we have a thing in Conjure that I call pray to, pray for, or pray for, pray to. Pray for the ancestors caught in pain or woe. I pray healing, I pray peace to them, I pray. And to those who are exalted, blessed, and redeemed, I always say, I pray, place my feet in right relationship with the directive of my spirit. all mothers and fathers, exalted and wise, who walk with me. And so take that oil, anoint the medulla, and then bring it across the fontanelle, which is this sort of flat place right here at the top of the head, and then to the third eye. So back to forward, and then around to the right, all the way around to the left, and back to the third eye. And then back up to the fontanelle, and then use whatever sacred glyph that you use, pentagram, the cross, or whatever, to mark that place. That's called crowning. And it's really worth doing because you've got to claim your head right now. Things are moving so quickly in our world that it will have you hyperextended, pouring yourself into everything out from your center and losing yourself. And you want to claim that throne of dominion inside you. Now, we are all pieces of the divine. We are pieces of the universe walking in a human terrestrial expression, extending the reach of the universe itself in a human experience. Never fall for the illusion of isolation. There is no disconnect. There is no we and them. We are all unique waves expressing from an ocean of being. You were born by inspiration, not desperation, and you willed yourself here. The pulse of your own aliveness had you come hunting. How am I going to get in? How am I going to get in? And you found, just a little base here, but you found a mommy and daddy, and they opened the gate for you, and boom, right? And you may think, yeah, what was that about? Well, it was about the genetic material that mommy and daddy had. Because all of us who are doing magic now likely were affected by the Inquisition. And we hid parts of our knowing, parts of our gifts in genetic streams. And now we have come back. Do you know there's more people in the world right now that self-identify as witch than ever before in the history of this planet? You ever wondered why? It's because, to quote my elders, when the world needs, and you can tell if you don't identify with the word witch, don't worry about it. Whatever word you identify that is of magic. But she always said, when the world needs witches, witches arrive. Witches are not made by the hands of humanity. They're made directly by the spirit world. And they're summoned by an inner, necessity, opportunity, and resource line up like tumblers in a lock. The blood awakens. Now, in the fairy tradition, there are legends of witches and these natural magic workers being of a genetic interaction between, in this case, the fair folk and the humans producing offspring. If you go into the Mediterranean, it's the Gregoria, the Watchers, the daughters of man and the sons of God. But and this shows up in every tradition just about worldwide, that there's a stream of humanity that came from an interaction between human and something else. And there's a reason for this. In the engineering of us, and I won't say a lot about that, but the lore's clear that there was engineering, to move us, forward. In the engineering of us, it was clear that we're the type of being that there would be some side effects, that there would be wondrous creatures, but also in order to have what we think of as free will, you have to be able to ignore the inherent holism that sits inside you. You have to ignore the voice that says, don't do that. We've always done it this way, but no, and we can ignore it. And in ignoring it, sometimes we cause problems, or sometimes we bring about innovation, new sight, new things. But you cannot have inherent balance and free will at the same time. Not an inherent balance means you can't step, you have an instinctual balance, knowledge of balance that you can't step away from. We don't have that, but we have instincts, but we have the ability to not listen to them too. Which we all know, if you're like me, I have paid for that at different times too. But in our rapid evolution, our reaching outward, we have stepped away from the things that we knew in the deeper places. And we're right now in the process of retrieving it. The whole of humanity is in the middle of a soul retrieval. You see, the ever arriving stellar pulse is incredible. It's inspiring, it's inspirational, it's renewing, it's always innovative, but it's not integrative. You see, life does not arrive from the stars down. It arrives from the earth up. When we reach to the heavens, we do get innovation, inspiration. I mean, the word in spiritus, to inflame from within. But look what has happened since the different traditions that are upper world focused. God is there, not here. What has happened? It has separated our heart from our head, holiness from our body, and it has caused serious damage. You cannot bless the fruits and curse the roots. So unearthing an understanding and living relationship with the undercountry is the next great pioneer for us. Where we have to go, the salve to our soul as close as our breath. We just now have to look down, present the oldest sprain to the heavens and the newest sprain to the earth. And that's where we will heal. There's so many techniques I'd love to show you. I can't because I know I'm over my time, and there's still more on the list to say. But maybe if we can
just keep going. It's not gonna turn off. So
well, I can't for too long because I also have a guest coming.
Okay.
Yeah, but what I would ask, if this is possible, to do a second part to this, because there is more.
We'll arrange that.
And but right now we really got to get this, y'all. You've got to get how important that you are. You're not doing this stuff out of mere curiosity, no matter what you may think. You're doing it because you answered a sacred call and stepped onto a cloud of unknowing, and courageous you, because it's people like you it's going to save the world. Well, save humanity. Now, if you're worried about us reaching to Mars and all that, that's as we're doing, that has been our destiny. It always has been, and we will go, and these things will happen. But we cannot take this disease with us. We cannot take the illusion of isolation with us. Earth won't allow it. The heavens won't allow it. So there's more to the cure. And if we can do another session, I'd love to make that one less talk and more than doing stuff, if that's acceptable and a possibility.
Totally. We'll pick a day and we'll do that, because you laid the groundwork, and what we do with it is the important part. So
yes. I could do one more to teach you. It's a song, but it's not. It's a working. It's very quick. Is that okay?
Sure.
As a part of closure, and then in closure, actually, I lied. There's two techniques, because in the last technique can be the closure itself.
Okay.
And this one, it's a song. It's called the Call of Completion. And in the call of completion, we're calling ourselves back into recentrification, right? So what the axis mundi ultimately is for us, what the belay, the center of the Yggdrasil, all these things are, is it is the light line of consciousness that passes through all things, the life that runs through all. Each one of us are sort of like threads in a weft of fate. We're threads on a greater fabric. We are branches. We are on a greater tree. And when we can own that place, we have access to the tree and its wisdom. But we have to do self-gathering to get there, right? So this song is about calling your power back, and power is the ability to affect change. And to call your power back, you're saying, from those non-yielding accounts where my power is locked, I'm calling it back. Most of that is in the past. Unfortunately, a lot of us live by memory and not by inspiration. And it's inspiration where we want to go. You see, the past is for reflection, not residence, and it makes a terrible nutritional supplement. if you're living in the past, it means you're living in a necrotic state. Not good, not good. And the past is for reflection, not residence. And otherwise, it can be a ravenous zombie that can't eat enough of your present to fulfill its appetite. So this is also about checking out of those places. The past is repeating itself inside of us and saying, no, I'm taking my ability to affect change back from that and letting it dissolve into the compost of the past. So the words go, in the name of the holy mystery, I call my power back to me. Right? And there's movements. We're actually reaching, and as we're reaching, like we're picking berries or something, we're reaching to those places where we know the past is constantly alive inside of us. Or we may be even reaching to where we work or anywhere where we keep getting caught in this sort of impasse, the stuck point. Pull your power out of it, cash it out, and bring that, like bringing a thread back to you of your power, and it'll just begin to dissolve. So it does that 3 times. It goes, in the name of the holy mystery, I call my power back to me, and we're reaching for it. In the name of the holy mystery, I call my power back to me. So same line, and then a third line of that same line. So it goes, name of the holy mystery, I call my power back to me. In the name of the holy mystery, I call my power back to me. It does it a 3rd time. And then it goes, in the name, and it's just a happy thing. Name, and the name, and the name, and the name, and the name of the holy mystery. The holy mystery meaning the wholeness of all things and my place within that wholeness. So it does that with power. And then we're going to do it with soul. With soul, you're not reaching with something in mind. Like with power, you're going, yep, there's that area where I'm stuck, and there's that area where I'm stuck. And you'll feel the slight tug, like you're pulling on a rubber band or something. Because things where power is put doesn't like to let you have that power back because it's energy. So when you get to soul, it's more like bubbles rising up from a spring. You reach out and let whatever arrives arrive. And that's when you get good at this, you'll start getting all kinds of awarenesses of past life, of repressed thoughts that are holding you stuck somewhere, or awareness is trying to reach you. Wonderful. With that one, you're doing the name of the holy mystery. I call my soul back to me. Let your hand just flow, and whatever thoughts, feelings, images arrive, let them arrive. But don't attach to them. Don't think about them a lot, right? You can think about that later. Because if you think, you attach too much and don't let it flow. And then it goes from there, the name of the holy mystery, I call my spirit back to me, which is almost like the electrical current of your life. And with that, usually when we're reaching, it's just like sparks of energy come back. Those sparks also can contain all the blessings, all the things you've called for, but that never came because you blocked them. And now you're saying, I want that. Thank you. I want those things back. Or calling the essential nature that is there to heal you, but can't get at you. You're saying, come on in here, and heal me. So it's the name of the holy mystery, call my spirit back to me 3 times. And then in the name, and the name, and the name, and the name, and the name of the holy mystery, name, and the name, and the name, and the name, and the name of the holy mystery. So it goes power, soul, and spirit. And then the final thing is sense the ever arriving waterfall of light. That's that stellar pulse as we're moving through the stars, the stellar pulse, the stream of it that's becoming you, that's falling into the heart of the land and resurrecting as you, right? And that's what the New Agers often call with the higher self, but it's ever arriving. So, and that you reach up to like a waterfall of light, bringing that down, sensing it as a crown that falls upon your head. So that one's, in the name of the holy mystery, I claim my crown of sovereignty. So that's owning your zip code, owning your place in this great fabric, and the potent power that you have in that place. So y'all got the words? Are you kind of ready? Now, what I would do is I would mute yourself, because if we all start singing it because of the electronical stuff, it will be cacophonous, you know. Okay, y'all ready? Get yourself seated in your singing pose, right? So, and what do you, when you say calling it back to you, you're recentrifying yourself, recentering your power, your soul, your spirit, and owning your crown, your existence in this world. Count of 3. 1, 2, 3. In the name of the holy mystery, I call my power back to me. Name of the holy mystery, I call my power back to me. Name of the holy mystery, I call my power back to me. Name and the name and the name and the name and the name of the holy mystery. Name and the name and the name and the name and the name of the holy mystery. Name of the holy mystery, I call my soul back to me. Name of the holy mystery, I call my soul back to me. Name of the holy mystery, I call my soul back to me. The name and the name and the name and the name and the name of the holy mystery. The name and the name and the name and the name and the name of the holy mystery. Name of the holy mystery, I call my spirit back to me. Name of the holy mystery, I call my spirit back to me. Name of the holy spirit mystery, I call my spirit back to me. Name and name and the name and the name and the name of the holy mystery. Name and the name and the name and the name and the name of the holy mystery. The crown, the name of the holy mystery, I claim my crown of sovereignty. The name of the holy mystery, I claim my crown of sovereignty. The name of the holy mystery, I claim my crown of sovereignty. In the name and the name and the name and the name of the holy mystery. Name and the name and the name and the name of the holy mystery. Now with your hands towards the heavens, sense a waterfall of light, golden white light, ever arriving, the stellar pulse of the eternal stream that became you and is still becoming you. Feel it fall down, and as you do, with your arms wide, repeat after me. I call down the cloak of the angels. Fall down as a waterfall of light, guiding, guarding, and blessing me, and wrap it around you by day and by night. With this cloak, you are aligned with the ever-arriving pulse of the eternal stream that you are, and you claim your place within the eternal expression. From that very stream, you can summon forth inspiration unbelievable, infinite calibration of guidance. When things are strange, when things get odd, do that pause point I gave you. Come back to center, claim and own yourself again, gather yourself up, and then wrap yourself around in the infinite power that is your source and your sum. And then go forth and become the agent of change you were born to be. And remember, below your feet, you have generations of human ancestors and other upholding your feet. You are in this world not alone. We never walk alone. So may all the powers of love encompass you in all the nights and in all days and in all good ways. This is just the beginning of an understanding of this work. So hope it gives you blessing. There we go. So I don't know if it's a quickie question or anything before I run off here. I'm sorry that there's so much more. 1 hour is not enough.
No, it wasn't. But luckily they don't turn us off automatically.
No.
I've been taking notes of it, and I'll put some of that up on the YouTube when it gets posted. Are there any questions? Unmute yourself if you have a question.
Yeah, I have one if I can.
Hey.
Hey, Ryan. Two
I love
questions.
you.
I'll keep it short. Oh, yeah. Is that the peacock curtain?
Yes, it is the one you gave.
I thought it was. It's beautiful. Okay, my other question, and I'll keep it short. The message I gave to you about a week ago, Now it makes sense to me. That's basically what you talked about. But now
Oh.
it makes a lot more sense to me.
Oh, that's wonderful, honey. That's great. That makes my heart smile.
Enjoy your peacock, and I will make faces at you tomorrow.
Okay, beloved.
Okay,
Hey,
bye, my love.
lots of loves. Sleep well on thine eyes and peace upon thy breasts. May the gods of thy ancestors guard thee while at rest.
Same for you.
Thank you. Let's see, anyone?
Kathleen, did you? Kathleen, did you have a question? Yeah.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Let's see. There you go.
Oh, there you are.
I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you so much for all of this and all that you do. And I do hope there's another one. I'll be there.
Yes, ma'am. I love you.
Thank you. And thank you for putting this together as well. I appreciate it.
A
Thank you.
wonderful lady there. Thank you. Much love, sweetie. Wow.
And anybody else? Because then we should probably finish. Okay, I'm going to jump right in and say, as I do at the end of each of these, remember to tell your friends about Changing Times, Changing Worlds. We're all psychic, and pretending that we aren't is like trying to work with one hand tied down. Changing Times, Changing Worlds conference will be held in November 8th to 14th, evening classes and panels Monday through Friday and all day long on the weekends. The registration is open on ctcw.net. So we are and Orion, do you want to pick a date?
Sure. You want to do that now or when?
Well, wait till I pushed we'll stop recording.
Yeah.
And so I've got Star Wolf coming on with healing crystals next weekend. So any Wednesday after that, and then we have to lock you in for a workshop for the conference.
Oh yeah. Yes. It's, I'll tell you what, it's getting busy. It's wonderful. The relevance of the message in Faery Seership is one that is starting to now go very global, because I'm doing a lot of global stuff and I'm loving it because it brings some answers, I think. I always say, I can do something, but we can do everything, you know? Okay, now let's see. It's hard to believe it's September already. How'd that happen? Okay, now when's the dates that you're doing these?